Hello and welcome to Cannaman TV. My name is Conor McLeod, and in this exclusive interview I get the chance to chat with Alex and Tom from Holistic Hemp Scotland. Holistic Hemp Scotland is Scotland's leading distributor of cannabinoid-based products, maintaining a close relationship with the manufacturing process and with an ever-expanding product line ranging from oils, pastes, cosmetics, hemp tea, industrial materials to foodstuffs such as cannabinoid-infused honey. Holistic Hemp Scotland have stamped their mark on the cannabinoid industry in a relatively short time. In this interview, we discuss hemp, the dietary benefits of cannabinoid products, what it's like to be a cannabinoid-based company in the UK, controversial regulation relating to cannabinoid products, and what we should expect to see from Holistic Hemp Scotland in the near future. Now then, let's talk cannabis. So thanks very much for joining me, guys. This is brilliant.
Hi, Connor.
Thank you for your time and invitation.
So we'll start with you, Tom. What was it that made you first get involved with the cannabis industry?
I guess just just wanting to make a difference to people's lives. After learning about the benefits that cannabis can have to a lot of chronic conditions, and really just in the disbelief at the regulation in the UK, and just really wanting to get a good quality product out into the market that people can rely on, that we're not trying to pull the wool over anyone's eyes. We're essentially just trying to give clients something that is pure, that's full spectrum, and that there's really no additives, nothing taken out, nothing added, and people do seem to really appreciate what we're doing. So yeah, that's really the nutshell of it, trying to change people's lives.
What about yourself, Alex? Do you have a similar mentality?
Yeah, well, I came to cannabis unexpectedly. To be honest, I was never even considering anything like that. My mindset was around marijuana, drugs, no go,
Yeah.
But I was a very health-focused person. So this is one of my main values in life. I've been following throughout, and after hearing a personal story of one guy that I met who had leaky gut condition and allegedly ME as well, and only because of coming across cannabis products and CBD oil, he actually got well. And that impressed me so much. And I started learning about the benefits of cannabis and what it can do. And I discovered that it's just amazing. And I was so ignorant, not knowing that. So I thought, how many people are there like me who don't know? And also people who are trying to buy maybe CBD products to help themselves, but they don't know whether it's good quality, how to distribute. So I thought I could play a role in this, and I was really passionate about this because of health, primarily, that drew me to cannabis. But I also discovered other areas where cannabis can benefit entire humankind. And we're talking about what is known as construction hemp and textile replacement of plastic. So there are regeneration products based on hemp. As a plant being absolutely unique, taking CO2 from air, adding minerals into the soil, enriching soil rather than depleting it of minerals. And I can list a lot of things when I was learning and discovering about cannabis impressed me so much. I thought I cannot just leave it. I became really passionate about this, basically fell in love.
So, Alex, how would you say, what is the difference between hemp and how is hemp distinguished from cannabis, the recreational drug?
Okay, well, it's quite easy to explain if you imagine cannabis as the entire humankind. So we are all humans, yeah? So all plants within the family of cannabis can be called cannabis, yeah? But they are all also different, just like we have different races within humankind, different color skin. The same with cannabis family. We have strains that are rich in some type of cannabinoids, primarily THC. So this strain has become known as marijuana. and other strains are mostly used for industrial purposes, but it's rich in CBD and other type of cannabinoids. And this is called mostly hemp. So this is just to distinguish, but this is all cannabis. We're talking about the same plant and pretty much the same family. It's just different strains, different types that make the difference in terms of the variety of cannabinoids and also the percentage of different cannabinoids present in the plant.
So, Tom, I noticed on your website you had hempcrete. How important is hemp generally as an agricultural product? I mean, Alex just touched on it there, but I mean, how important in comparison to other products out there is hemp?
Well, hempcrete's used to make hemp blocks. It's not really, as an agricultural product, the hempcrete's really actually a construction product. It comes from agriculture, obviously, but it's used in construction. The hemp block itself has natural anti-pesticide properties, natural insulation properties, and it's very light, it's very strong. So you can use it instead of construction blocks. You can use it instead of insulation. You can use it instead of something that maybe needs to keep pests off. It's also fire retardant, so you can use it on constructions that need to have fire retardant walls. You know, if you have a construction that's by UK building regulations, a certain distance from a perimeter, you must put usually very expensive and environmentally negative construction materials into that perimeter wall to make it fireproof. Can help out there. So yeah, that's it's really just made from the fibers of the hemp itself. What it means is that there's no waste product. You know, as I'm sure Alex will say, there's 50,000 uses for hemp or 50,000 uses for marijuana, and there's only one that's get high. There's so many other applications for this incredible plant that is generally extremely positive. And it's also worth saying, you know, the UK, US, all governments and people on earth were using hemp and cannabis widely before this kind of Controlled Substances Act came in. It started in the United States, but you know, during the war effort, during World War II, they massively ramped up hemp production to help the war effort for you know, fibers and ropes and rigging and all the things that they needed for the war effort. Hemp was actually critical during World War II as a raw material.
So you don't really hear very much. It's quite alarming when you consider those kind of facts, you know. So CBD obviously is one of your main products that you have available. Alex, what are the different varieties? You have obviously CBD, CBDA, CBG. I mean, how are these differentiated from each other?
Okay. Well, CBG or cannabidiol, as it's called, is like a precursor of THC and CBD. And in the plant itself, THC and CBD do not exist. They exist as acidic form. That's why they're called CBDA and THCA. So it's cannabidolic acid rather than cannabidiol. And in the process of extraction and decarboxylation, so when it's heated, it converts from CBDA into CBD and from THCA into THC. So CBG is more rare. It's less, how would you put it correctly?
It's less predominant in the plant, perhaps?
Well, it's more difficult to extract, but it's less predominant. You're absolutely right. So CBG converts into THCA and CBDA, and as a rare form, it's more expensive as well. However, having properties of both THC and CBD, it has value for people, and that's why we have in one of our range of products CBG paste, and we're also working on introducing CBG drops, because based on the feedback we receive from our customers, these products have great potential and definitely have value for people suffering with various conditions. We unfortunately do not have permission to give any medical advice or anything like that. But based on our experience, we've been around for 3 years now. We can see that this is not a hoax. It definitely works for so many people because of the thank you messages that we receive and feedbacks that we receive from people. So from CBG to THC and CBD, there's also CBC, which is even more rare and not as known as CBD, but also very important cannabinoid. In total, there are 114 cannabinoids in cannabis. So we're working on developing other product lines, not just based on CBD, because it's not really correct to call a full spectrum product a CBD oil or CBD paste, because it has all other cannabinoids in there. And you might notice that our CBG paste is only called cannabis paste, with CBG being main dominant cannabinoid. But we also break down other cannabinoids in there, and we also show in our certificate what is in there, because it's quite important for people who understand and who do their own research. Unfortunately, due to the lack of scientific information, people do a lot of their own research on the internet, reading, and their own experience. So we're also working on introducing CBC, which is cannabichromine. So cannabichromine, that's the word behind CBC. Quite important and recently been discovered as beneficial for people with conditions related to cancer, basically. Yeah. So again, I'm not allowed to expand on that too much because I'm not a medical doctor. This is for professionals.
It's worth saying though, Alex, that the product that we have is Holistic Hemp Scotland. What that means is it's full spectrum. So we're not isolating specific cannabinoids. The product that we have is an extract of hemp with every terpene and element that is in the plant. So it's extremely natural, and I think that's really where our product has become so highly regarded, is because it is so natural and holistic, and it is really all in the name Holistic Hemp Scotland. We're sourcing the products from the suppliers we know to have the most natural and how do I say it, the least, as I said in the beginning, it's the least amount of things added and the least amount of things taken out. It's the purest form.
So what can you say, Tom, about the extraction method between CBD and other cannabinoids? Is it a similar method? Is there numerous methods which can be adopted?
There are, I think, 3 methods. One of them is an ethanol extraction. There's another method that I don't quite remember, but the method that we used, which is considered to be one of the best due to the fact it's not using something like ethanol. I do understand ethanol does have its advantages, but with the carbon dioxide extraction, there's really no alcohol added to the solution. I mean, I do understand with ethanol, there's no alcohol left in, but we use primarily carbon dioxide extraction process, and that's done. Alex will correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe that's performed using carbon dioxide to separate the products, and then they use a centrifuge to separate the oil from the plant. Alex, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. 80% of our products are CO2 extracted, yeah? And this is because this is the cleanest method. Although it's not the cheapest, but we deal with boutique farms. They're very small and focused on eco-friendly way of growing cannabis, and we make sure that everything is tested. So we receive certificates from farmers first, so we can see the heavy metals, the pesticides, the mycotoxins in the product, not to mention the actual cannabinoid and terpene profiles of the product. So providing this is satisfactory, then we carry out our own tests here before we actually put it into market and offer it to our customers. I always test it on my family I've got a big family, 4 children and a dog and my wife. So they're good specimens.
A happy family.
Yes, absolutely. And just wanted to share here for people, because there's a lot of misconception. My wife was brave enough to use CBD oil during 3 pregnancies. And this last pregnancy, the 4th one, she was very consistent in taking CBD through entire pregnancy, and that was her best pregnancy. Although it should have been the most difficult one because of the age, and she gave birth to our 4th child quite late. She is very proud because CBD did not pose any, not just didn't cause any problems, but in fact we see that this was the most positive outcome. Absolutely, there's no issues whatsoever. So that's a good personal testimony for us to confirm that what we're doing and what we believe in is worth doing and worth taking as a mission. So extraction, like Tom mentioned, ethanol extraction is also next best one known on the market. There's other one like butane and so on. We don't even touch those. I'm very sensitive to any impurity and toxicity, and I've tested so many products, and some of them have immediately struck me with aftertaste, with something very artificial, not natural. And I'm really keen to have products without any impurity whatsoever. So even if it's ethanol extracted, it's important that ethanol is actually eco-friendly, or as we call it, organic. It's not the cheapest one, but so we're talking about organic alcohol, yeah? And the difference between CO2 extraction and ethanol extraction is ethanol actually cleans out almost all possible terpenes and cannabinoids from the plant, including the waxes and chlorophyll. So ethanol extracted products tend to be, when they're full spectrum, extremely spicy. They really hit your back of your throat when you take them. But they also have a full array of what's in the cannabis plant. So when people are saying CO2 is number one, I would say ethanol is as good as CO2. I was in doubt initially, but after working with some very reputable extraction facilities and also suppliers, we came to the conclusion it's also the way that we can accept, providing the alcohol is clean and we receive.
I think the key element is that I think the best producers will ensure there's no ethanol left at all, like literally
Exactly.
0%. I think that's where the uncertainty comes around the ethanol extraction.
The fact that you've got such a rigorous process, from seed to end product, that's really something that seems to have set you apart from other people. Some people have just got a shop there. It seems to be that there's various companies down south that produce numerous CBD products and distribute them out, and you have people that are popping up all over the place who don't have any connection to the manufacturing process whatsoever, and it doesn't really testify to them saying that it's obviously a clean product, etc., if they don't really have that knowledge. So the fact that you have that, that's fantastic, to be fair.
That's a very good point, Connor, because it doesn't do any justice to the industry, unfortunately, because a lot of people come into this industry because they sense there is potential, they can make money, they can make good business out of it, but they don't even know much about the products. Quality is not on the agenda, and it affects people's health. And again, this is the fact that we acknowledged from the start that our values are based on purity of the product, because it's health of the people that we are dealing with. We cannot offer them something that will affect it or harm them. So this is very moral type of responsibility we took on our shoulders.
Yeah, no, it's certainly. Sorry, on you go, Tom.
Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, I think that key element of what you just said, Alex, comes from the long-term relationships that we've built with people who are actually growing the plant in Europe, and first of all, only working with the people who have the same ethos of us and the holistic mindset, but also just reinforcing that with them to tell them this is brilliant, this is what we want, can you make this better, and over time the products will get better, or they will at least be maintained in their quality.
Obviously, because you mentioned it's the EU, I think the EU have got something like 30 or 40 specific hemp seeds which are only available for growing in the EU, and those are the expected end product, that kind of thing. I was going to say is, like, which have you found any to be superior than other? I mean, what particular hemp strain that you use?
I'll let Alex take that one.
Well, superior, well, yes and no. And well, it depends. For instance, CBG comes from a specific strain, because it also depends on the strain. Like I was saying in the beginning, what type of cannabinoids is dominant in the product. What we're focusing on mostly is the quality of the supplier. It could be different strains that they use in production, but the end product is the most important thing. So we classify it as cannabis sativa in general, because this is what distinguishes the cannabis products rich in CBD rather than THC. So for us to be legal and abide by regulations, by the way, they're also in the process. They're still being developed. We don't have enough regulations at the moment, and that's why there's a lot of misunderstanding, misinterpretations, and people still don't know the answers to a lot of questions, and how much of THC, for instance, can be or cannot be. For that reason, a lot of companies go towards isolates and distillate route because it's the safest. You can always guarantee, it's 99% CBD, so you just extract everything. But what we believe is, because we take holistic approach to everything in our health in the first place, the same approach we take to cannabis plant. And the way it's created and the way it's interacting with our bodies is also based on holistic approach. So it's very important to preserve its wholeness and unity.
So, Tom, Alex mentioned a minute ago there just about regulation. How has the novel foods issue that's been passed recently affected the way you do business?
Well, it's where do I start? The whole grey area in UK law around cannabis in general. I think it stems from that. Medicinal cannabis and the use of CBD specifically was made legal in the UK in 2018, but people still don't seem to be able to go to their doctor and ask for it. Doctors don't know anything about it. People can't. We have problems with transactions on our account because banks still don't recognise that it's legal. And then in regards to the Novel Foods Act, just a further example of the lack of clarity the government's given to people. So in our position, just maybe it's worth describing what the Novel Foods Act is. Basically, you need a special license to produce any product that wasn't normally consumed by humans before 1996. So when you're talking about holistic hemp with nothing removed, or do we fall under this or do we not? We can't get clarity on that point. We're also, our suppliers are going to be certified with the Novel Foods Act, which is an EU regulation. If we buy off them, do we need putting our label on it? Do we need to have that certification as well? There's no clarity around this. But the reality of the situation is that all products that fall into this kind of grey area of the Novel Food Act, which isn't clear, will need to have a special license, and they'll need to have every product tested in laboratories. The cost of this is enormous. It can be, hundreds of thousands, and more, 300,000 for licenses, and it's kind of unfair if you consider that, I know in America that they're suffering from the same problem. You got maybe George and Mildred with their little cannabis extraction process in Colorado. They've been doing it for years, and they produce this amazing product. Everyone trusts them, and then suddenly they've got this. And suddenly they need this license to produce something to say that their product's safe, even though cannabis has no proven side effects. The World Health Organization specifically has stated that there's no negative effects to hemp usage and around CBD. And meantime, why do we need this license to say that it's safe? It kind of stinks of big pharma, and there's all sorts of conspiracy theories around how they would affect government policy. Maybe some of them aren't conspiracy theories, but big pharma stand to lose a huge amount if all these chronic conditions can suddenly be treated with cannabis. And all sorts of people who I've spoken to have had their lives changed by cannabis, and I also know a lot of people who have been extremely unwell, and I know that cannabis could help them, and they're specialists. People I know are considered to be some of the best specialists of things like colitis and Crohn's syndrome and epilepsy, and what was the other one? The migraines, specific migraines. I know I have knowledge of people. I've met people face to face that have seen huge differences in their lives after having used cannabis. But these medical specialists are not knowledgeable about it. They're not passing on the knowledge, and they're not able to affect positive change in people's lives. So yeah, I think there's around novel foods is one problem, but the whole regulatory grey area in the UK is unfair to the general population. Difficult to understand.
Generally, we need this regulation. The only thing is there's no clarity in what approach they've taken to novel food. For example, CBD products are classified as novel food if they haven't been used before May 1997 in EU and UK. It's very difficult because you can argue they have been. People have been using hemp seed oil for through entire human history, really. Yes, and hemp seed oil has all the properties of any CBD product or any CBD oil, really. And we need more clarity, really. And I know we as members of Cannabis Trade Association listen to the recent updates from association, and they've been talking a lot about this and trying to get clarity from the government, and still not receiving clear responses. We have a deadline by the 21st of March next year to make sure that all products are licensed. So we're working with our suppliers currently in terms of making sure that they are either licensed or they fall under umbrella of licensed producer before we actually can take their products and offer them to our customers. So that's the challenge for distributors like us.
It certainly seems like a frustrating element, like you've mentioned before, about and Tom said as well, about the evidence that's clearly there in front of everybody that this product is helping people, and you can go into just any standard health food shop and purchase it. And with these regulations now that have got the cover of trying to help people and preserve certain products from having toxicity and stuff like this, is actually hurting more people than it's helping. And that's certainly a frustration that's evident from this passing. You mentioned before about some of the other products that you're going to be bringing through as well, about these other cannabinoid-based products such as CBC and stuff like that. the phytochemicals that are in cannabis are obviously so numerous. Do you think that this is going to be an endless circumstance? He's just going to spend the next few years just continuously bringing out obviously new products that are going to be able to help in different ways?
I think the process will become more refined as we learn more about cannabis and cannabinoids and terpenes and how they work with human bodies. We will probably be able to say in more confidence that this is the products that certain person with certain conditions would benefit from. Again, we are only talking about them as food supplements, not as medicine.
Yeah, of course, the MHRA, that's it.
Medical. So it's just like vitamins that people use to supplement themselves to feel better, be stronger, have a stronger immunity or less inflammation in the body. The same with cannabis products. I just think that this knowledge will grow, and this will help us to identify products that we will focus more, but we will still remain believers of full spectrum and holistic property of cannabis. Our direction is also in just looking in more distant future to introduce products such as topicals, so they're more used for cosmetics. So we're adding those to our range. We're focusing also on other hemp products such as textile and what you mentioned, hempcrete. Yeah, so let's classify it as construction hemp. There's a lot there as well, insulation hemp, etc. So this is all in the pipeline. So we have big dreams, but we just want to bring it to people because we believe this can change the world for the better, and we can get rid of so much toxicity in our lives, and we can improve quality of so many people's lives. You know, people living in concrete buildings, surrounded by microwaves and radioactivity, and very often they don't even know why they're not feeling so well. And if you experience being in the building built out of hemp, where is everything natural, breathable, you don't use any artificial even heating system because it's totally passive structure, and because of hemp's conductivity, it keeps the same steady temperature and humidity inside the building. So we have coolness in summer and warm temperatures in winter. Not to mention that you are free from any toxicity, you know, that comes from insulation, from paints. If children can sleep in cotton, rather than some oil-based, I'm talking about nylon and all artificial fibers that we use currently, and sleep in natural hemp textile-based bedding and use linen and clothing like that, our bodies will feel different. And the food products are fantastic. We're also looking into that. You know, hemp can offer beautiful supplements for breakfast, like seeds that are very tasty. You know, hemp seed oil that I mentioned before has one of the best ratios between omega-3 and omega-6, which is essential for human health. We're talking about hemp protein, you know, for sports, for losing weight, and so many answers to so many problems just from one plant. And very good soil.
Sorry, Alex. Before you go, Tom, I was going to ask, is I noticed on your website you've got, just what Alex mentioned there about foods that have cannabinoids in them, you've got a full spectrum honey. That's actually, I've never seen that before. I mean, what could you say about your honey?
Yes.
It's probably best if Alex takes that. He sourced that product.
On you go, Alex.
Yes, yeah. The idea came from love of honey as a natural product, love of bees, and combining the two, basically. Yeah. So if honey can be raw and mixed with raw full spectrum CBD oil, so we experimented with that a couple of years ago. We tasted it, and it was beautiful, and we thought people will love that. We should try and offer it to market, and we receive very good feedback from a lot of people. So through eating raw honey, you can still get the effect of saturating your system with cannabinoids. Yeah, it's just more pleasant way of getting it. Maybe not the most effective from the point of bioavailability. There are other ways of ingesting which are more effective, of course. But honey could be the answer for those people who cannot stand the taste. Everyone's taste buds are different. Or for children who love sweets, it's a great replacement for all these dangerous sweets that kids unfortunately big fans of and eating in abundance. So we thought,
Alex, is it worth mentioning, Alex, just around the absorption, just around the best method to absorb, I think is very important for people to understand, and the different levels of absorption between vape.
Yes, yeah. Well, it is important for cannabinoids to enter bloodstream as swiftly as possible, and ideally not to get into the stomach, because stomach acid can destroy most of it and decrease all the properties. So we have products which are taken sublingually. We also have capsules that are digested in intestinal tract. So this is a very effective way. I read the stats on our product that the tests are showing about 60% of bioavailability. So efficacy is much higher this way. A lot of people are who suffer from pain, headaches, and migraine, like Tom mentioned, would look for instant effect. So in those cases, probably the quickest way to ingest is to vape CBD oils. It's better than smoking for sure, although maybe not the healthiest, but still under research how healthy vaping is. We don't offer any vaping products, but it could be the answer to somebody who is looking for pain relief as quickly as possible, because it's instant, it goes through your sinuses straight to your bloodstream. So these three methods are probably the most effective. Obviously, in terms of honey, it's probably not the best, most effective way to get CBD into your bloodstream, but it still works, and I know that for sure because I'm using CBD honey myself, and I can feel the effect. I can feel much more relaxed and calm, and that's the main effect I'm looking for. As I tend to get very tense because of a lot of pressure and stress in my life. So yes, it does have a positive effect. And it's, as I said, the answer for those people who cannot tolerate a lot of bitterness or spiciness in our CBD products. So honey just has much more pleasant effect. It could be mixed with other products, and it still will have positive effect for your health, and it will still saturate your body with cannabinoids, which we are all lacking.
Yeah, so this is just before we go here, guys. Tom, what would you recommend to people that are still a bit nervous about consuming CBD based on the propaganda that's connected to it from cannabis?
I'll just maybe say a very quick statement. It was told to me by an NHS doctor. They were on a panel in a cannabis exposition we went to 2 months ago. It's quite simple. A suppressed endocannabinoid system leads to disease. It's that simple. It's the endocannabinoid system, if anyone wants to know, it regulates your hormones, can regulate your immune system, regulates your cell structure. It's an extremely important part of your whole overall human system. I mean, anyone that's worried about that should look into the endocannabinoid system itself. And we have receptors in our body that are evolved to process cannabinoids. So, I mean, that would be the simple statement that I would give on that.
Well, that's brilliant. I mean, that is one of the interesting things in particular with this whole CBD cannabis in general, is that we've through the study of cannabis itself, we discovered an entire physiological system, the endocannabinoid system, which was lying in the entire time without us being aware of it. And one thing I'll add as well, you mentioned in the medical side, is that the CBD, what a lot of people are unaware of, most viewers, is that it doesn't actually interact. It raises natural levels of cannabinoids in the body, which I found fascinating when I just stumbled across it last year. That we have CBD is molecularly similar to 2-arachidonoglycerol, and THC is molecularly similar to anandamide. These are obviously neurochemicals that are found in the body, which CBD comes along like a welcomed visitor and instigates into a more harmonious position. So it really is a wonderful thing when it comes to CBD. So would you guys got anything else you'd like to add before we go?
Well, we just hope that this industry will receive support from the government and regulating bodies, and we will have more clarity, so less abuse, less pirates on the market that actually affect the reputation of the industry in general. And it's a wonderful business opportunity as well. I think the economy, I mean, Tom, we were talking about this so many times. If you think about economy, just look at United States and Colorado, and how economy of that state alone changed since they legalized cannabis completely, and they made marijuana legal, and it's regulated, it's accessible, and people are moving to the state in big numbers just because of that. And Canada is another example. Hopefully the UK will follow. We're a little bit behind, although UK is the largest exporter of medical marijuana in the world. Well-known fact now. So we just need to catch up, really. I think it's inevitable. So our vision is that we will remain working very actively, offering our expertise and our knowledge, experience, best qualities we have to the clients, with our customers. We really appreciate the feedback, and we hope that we will still play a role in this market for many years to come.
Well, thanks very much, Alex. Thanks very much, Tom. It's been brilliant chatting to you.
Thank you, Connor.
Thank you, Connor. Look forward to speaking again.
Thanks to Alex and Tom for giving me their time. And thanks to you for sticking around until the end of the video. I sincerely hope you enjoyed the content. I'll see you next time.